Alright, hello YouTube! Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy stream. Today we are playing with Sean M's Blue-White Spirits deck list. Now, Spirits is a tribe that for a long time I thought was like right on the cusp of being good. I worked with Maryland local Paul Lynch for a little while on trying to make the deck lists work, and we both tried it for a couple of weeks and we're like, it's not quite there. It doesn't quite have the cards yet. But last year, we got Skyclave Apparition, which is, maybe one of the best spirits of all time, if not the best spirit of all time. And so today I'm going to be revisiting this archetype to see how it works out and how it plays in practice. Conceptually, this is a tribal ether vial deck. So basically, all of the various creatures that are in this deck are spirits. So we have Supreme Phantom as a lord, as well as Drog Skull Captain as a lord, which also gives hexproof. Now, if you've played against slivers, you know how disgusting Crystalline Sliver is. This is the Crystalline Sliver for spirits. And we also have Spell Queller as like a generic piece of interaction. So we're going to be a little bit less interactive than maybe slivers, but probably more interactive than something like Merfolk. Merfolk as a tribal vial deck, generally speaking, like looks to abuse Island Walk and make creatures big quickly and get people dead. This deck has a decent amount of interaction of some kind or another between the Spirit of the Labyrinths and the Skyclave Apparitions and the Spell Quellers, so we're going to have a little bit of game in terms of what we do with our decisions. I like some of the sideboard options of this deck. I think cheap or free counter spells and effects are very good here. So I like the Force of Negations and in particular the Submerge in the sideboard for that reason. Now we do maybe need a little bit of extra stuff to help deal with Uro. So we have Swords to Plowshares and Rest in Peace in the sideboard. And against the various control decks, we also have a Geist of St. Traft, which that used to see a decent amount of play in like Stoneblade type shells. Just something that was sticky and pretty hard to get rid of. Our mana base is relatively stable. We do have a decent number of wastelandable targets, the Cavernous Souls, the Caracas, the Tundras, but we do have 4 basics that we can fetch out if the need arises. All right, let's battle. For folks watching on the YouTube end, please consider throwing me a like real quick. That sort of thing matters a lot. All right, I have kept an opening hand with a bunch of spirits and a Cavernous Souls, so they're going to be uncounterable. For the YouTube folks following the conversation, we're currently talking about Sedgemoor Witch still. Alright, I have to remember which one of these is which. Rattle Change is the one that has Flash and gives protection. My mom's Amazon Prime, and D. Harlequin, thank you very much for your support. I very much appreciate it. So I can get one more damage out of this thing if I play one of my cards in my main phase. I'm slightly worried about getting wastelanded. I think it'll be okay to get basics this game and at least be able to stay on 2 mana. I guess if I cast the Flash one in combat, that probably ends up being the best way to do this. I'm bigger. I'm hexproof. 2 damage. And now the Drog Skull Captain is going to have Flash, which is worth something. I'm not exactly sure what yet. Alright, I have this Shacklegeist that is probably just going to get pitched to Force of Will. But the Shacklegeist is very interesting at stopping a Merit Lodge in the long term. Yeah, we're playing against some depths deck. Like, it could be a full-on depths deck. It could be like one of the Primeval Titan decks. Could be a Maverick deck or a Loam deck in some cases. Probably not Maverick with Mox Diamond. Other than the Mox Diamond, my opponent hasn't really done anything yet, which leaves me slightly suspicious. Hey. Well, that is happening. I guess my lines are just such that it's best to just remove it and deal 20 more damage. Yeah, the 20 more damage is not actually going to take all that long, somewhat surprisingly. Yeah, so we have 12 damage showing for next turn. Maybe 13. Alright, well, that one can't be countered. Um, I'm just going to put this into play. I play challenges and events sometimes, but a lot of times when I do, I don't stream or record them because you play noticeably worse when you're streaming or recording. So, like, every once in a while, I will record, like, a prelim or something like that, but it's pretty rare. Three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I probably still kill my opponent in 2 turns if I give them 6 life. That's fine. It's weird that I've just, like, given my opponent 26 life, and it's just like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Good God. Alright. I like Submerge. I like Swords to Plowshares. I like Pithing Needle. I think Rest in Peace and Geist of Saint Trapped are acceptable, as is Force of Negation. I think these are my musts. I think I'm going to upgrade Rest in Peace to must. I don't expect my opponent to target me all that many times, so I think I'm going to trim on that. I really do like the Skyclaves. I think Spell Queller ends up being a touch slow. I think I'm going to trim a couple of 3-drops. Yeah, Spirit of the Labyrinth is not really great. It can be fine against a Sylvan Library type card. Otherwise, it's just a 3/1 attacker. Maybe its lack of flying makes it worse than Spell Queller, actually. I think literally everything else other than the Unsettled Mariners and Spirits have flying, except for Skyclave, which is just so good that I wouldn't want to cut it. Yeah, why don't we try this? I'm not sure whether or not I'm supposed to, like, board in the Force of Negations as something that can deal with Life from the Loam, like, very effectively. Uh, how good is Ether Vial? Is Ether Vial this good? Ether Vial could be this good. This one's borderline. Like, this is the sort of hand where if I rip a couple of lands, it's disgustingly good, and if I don't, I'm going to be too slow. I think I'm gonna just try to find a consistent hand. Never mind. I'm gonna keep a different 1-land Ether Vial hand. Alright. Let's assume that the Spell Queller here just, like, comes down too late. And put that back. We have a good Vial curve. Like, we have 1-drop into 2-drop into 3-drop. I mean, there is a reason I played out the Tundra before the Caracas, though. The Caracas helps deal with Maritlage. Gonna go ahead and protect my mana here. If we protect this from Wasteland, it becomes less important to have answers to things like Life from the Loam. And it becomes easier for us to deal with a Maritlage, so we don't, like, have to just throw that on Thespian stage immediately. It appears we are eating a Swords to Plowshares. Nope. Thought we were going to. I don't have too much to say right now in these games. My opponent's not doing anything. They don't have green mana, which is a pretty big deal. And I'm not really scared of just an immediate Merit Lodge because of my Caracas. I am not going to play the Skyclave Apparition out just as a creature, though. Okay, I may cast these as though they have flash. Surprised my opponent didn't copy anything with Thespian Stage there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can go and play this critter out and be representing lethal. Yeah, my opponent probably kept an opening hand that was like one critical card short in some way or another, or maybe they have a Dark Depths in hand that I never saw because I like played out this Caracas and protected it with Pithing Needle. I think this is one of those times where like my opponent stumbled in one or multiple ways, and I just got to capitalize on it by hitting them in the face. I believe my opponent is a Storm player. My hand has a Force of Will, which is nice, but I don't really have another game plan, and I have a Swords to Plowshares that's already dead. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one, despite the fact that I have a counterspell. I don't really like this hand. It's okay with more land. I'm going to try to be picky here. All right, we can keep 5. This is not great. I think I'm going to keep a functional hand. I think I'm going to throw back the Ether Vial. That's not true. Alright, so we are playing against a combo deck of some kind. Maybe... Oh. Not sure exactly what we're facing down. This could be one of those peer through the depths lists that have been floating around on Twitter. There's one Chrome Mox in those lists. Didn't think they had Wishclaw Talisman, though. Guess let's do ye old deck thinning thing. Play out a Spirit. If I get another turn, having Spell Queller up is probably pretty good. I don't know that I'm going to get another turn. This is a lot of resources. Pause just for a second there, like I'm thinking about countering that, which might get my opponent to like use some mana to duress me or something. All right, ad nauseum. So my opponent has Veils and Silence in this Storm deck. It looks TES adjacent. But colors are a little weird. All right, at this point, I'm just going to whack the F6 button. They know I don't have anything. Yeah, they are straight up 5-color Storm. Do I have any Hate Bearers in my board? I have an Eidolon. Oh, nice tendrils. They're 5 colors. They could literally have anything in the sideboard. All right. I will play all my bonus counter spells out of the sideboard. I think Mystical Dispute is kind of I want these. I want these. I want this. I want this. Age and Rest in Peace both technically do things, but are I probably play Cage. Dispute, Geist, Disenchant are maybe worth considering. I do not want this. I probably do not want these. Skyclave Apparitions are fine to get rid of Wishclaw Talismans that are played out. Shacklegeist is not really good. Alright, what do I think of the Disenchant? Still at 27 creatures, somewhat miraculously. Means my vials are still kind of good. I don't know if this is the Mystical Dispute matchup, like, given how many anti-counterspell cards my opponent has. I think I'm going to try this. I mean, this is fine. Rattle Chains is not exactly the follow-up threat that I'm looking for, but 3 damage a turn is not nothing against an ad nauseum deck. I am just going to take my 1 bonus damage here and not, like, hold up mana to bluff. So on average, I'm probably doing 3.5 damage a turn right now. Because I assume roughly every other turn I'll draw a creature. I'm at 27 creatures. Drawn 2 of those, so 24 of my remaining 52 cards are creatures. That seems like a fine thing to counter. Like, I want to use my counters when I can, when Silence and Veil aren't in the equation. Oh, that's a fine draw. I'm plenty happy with that. Oh god, it has flash too. Oh. That's gross. Oh, please brainstorm for me. I need it. Oh, Echo? Oh. Echo would be pretty sick. Alright, you get to silence me. I'm not gonna force a will that. Like, if they can go off this turn, they beat me anyway with silence, and if they don't, I can have force a will for the next turn. Alright. F6, what you got? So that could just get a Peer and draw half of their library. No, wait. Does Peer draw the cards? I think Peer draws the cards. I mean, an Empty the Warrens for 14 goblins is pretty good. I assume that beats me the vast majority of the time. Yeah. All right. GG. I don't think I'm beating the like Veil plus Silence combo tech most of the time. That's hard. I need more permanent based disruption. All right, my opening hand is a little unexciting, but okay. My issue is that if I Force of Will, I don't actually have all that many creatures left. Oh, I'm actually plenty happy with this exchange. I don't want to fight over this. Yeah, Yeah, I would just like to play both of my creatures and bash my opponent in the face with them. So this lord on its own is not like particularly good. It's a 1/3, which is a sort of awkward sized body. Not really aggressive. Yeah. So I have 6 lands here. I think this one has already been decided. Game 1. Also, hold on. Didn't my opponent? Oh no, it was Icefang Coatl, not Baleful Strix that they pitched. All right, so my opponent's definitely got a little bit of a greedy deck. That probably means that they have, their choice of great removal spells. A lot of a greedy deck. Oof. All right, I get nothing. I get nothing. Actually, my opponent has 0 cards now. Hmm. I don't really have sources of card advantage in this deck. It's just kind of like whatever I get is what I get. So I think once my opponent gets something meaningful going, well, I mean, thank you for waiting until my turn. I think once my opponent gets a source of card advantage, whether it's like a predict or a planeswalker or something like that, I start to fall behind. But until then, maybe I can hold my own. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is what I'm afraid of. Hello, Spirit of the Labyrinth? Where are you? So, like, I lack something like Recruiter of the Guard as an endgame, like, big card advantage engine. Yeah, shit. Yeah. So Clothis negates all of the damage from my rattle chains. My Shriekgeist later can help with that clock, but life is not good. That's annoying. That takes away one of my biggest advantages, being able to play at instant speed with my creatures. Yeah, that one extra card drawn from Sylvan Library plus the filtering is just going to break me. So when I played this before, and that was probably 3 or 4 years ago, I just felt like the tribe's power level, like the average power level of the cards in the deck was lower than that of other tribes. So like if you take a look at this, right? Like this isn't really a legacy playable card, right? But we're playing it because it's a 2/2 flyer that's the right creature type. So I think it just needs another couple of cards that are viable spirits. Like even Rattle Chains is like like it's cool, but you compare it to Crystalline Sliver and there's just like a massive gap between these, right? I think I'm just gonna hold up my Rattle Chains to prevent removal on my creatures. Act Jace. Please die. Alright. Ready to get Terminus? I'm ready to get Terminus. Wrong spell. Yeah, Humans is a fringe legacy option. Like it's a very powerful deck in the right metagames and a very bad deck in the wrong metagames. In particular, it tends to be pretty good against combo because you have like so many different turn two hate bears that do slightly different things, like the Thalias, the meddling mages, the kite sail freebooters. Um, but it can struggle a little bit against board wipes because a lot of its creatures build up in power over time, like Champion of the Parish and Thalia's Lieutenant. And then you have things like Rick and General Kudrow that also really want you to have multiple creatures. And so if someone is casting Terminus and Supreme Verdict, the deck feels a little worse. All right, what is the plan versus a control deck? Geist looks fine, though Baleful Strix is a, or not Baleful Strix, Ice Fang Coatl is a thing. Pithing Needle for Jace is, I guess, a thing I can do. I don't really know what my plan is. Like, I also maybe need to assume that Uro is in my opponent's deck. I know Snapcaster's there. Uro's probably there. How do I want to deal with Uro? I'm not sure. Like, I can deal with Uro like this. I can deal with Planeswalkers like this. I think I want to, like, try to board out these Shacklegeists that I don't think are good. I want to bring in at least 2 cards. If I'm bringing in one of these, I might as well bring in both and try to make it a reasonable part of the plan. Hey, you do something like that. This is fine. I think the Aether Vials in this deck only feel of medium quality, because a lot of times if I do something like pitch cards to Force of Will, my threats that I'm putting into play aren't singularly, like, good on their own. Which dampens the power of the Vial a little bit. Which is why I've trimmed Vials a couple of times in sideboarding. I think I'm just going to try to stick the Rest in Peace now. And just keep all my creatures uncounterable. I know that this has shut down Snapcaster Klothys, Mystic Sanctuary, and Uro is probably a safe assumption. Alright, I did not want that. Yeah, you know, we'll hold the second Rest in Peace in case opponent gets rid of the first one. But I would really like, you know, something that murders my opponent. What's my ratio of creatures? About even, so I'll keep it on 2 for now. Actually, maybe that's not true, because, like, having it available for Spell Queller on 3 is just so effing insane. I'm not going to cast this Rattle Chains right now. I'll cast it if my opponent, like, throws down a removal spell. Norway, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Like I have the better board right now. However, I feel like that's all going to slip away at some point soon. Yeah. So I'm feeling like we're very bad against board wipes. I don't have any source of card advantage. This Rest in Peace was a blue card. We could talk. Like, if I had been able to fight over that Terminus effectively, like, I probably win that game. But, like, I drew too many cards that don't have power and toughness, like Vile, Rip, Force. My opponent has 6 cards. I think we're done here. My will is weak. I don't believe in the heart of the cards. Actually, should have played that out for Force of Will. I was thinking about hiding that for like playing it the same turn as I played a 2-drop uncounterably. Always no to this. And I have to always yield to that again. Yeah, we have just a couple of lands. Alright, so my opponent has jammed Hull Breach or Days Undoing into this too. I'm gonna grab my basics just on the off chance that some sort of Blood Moon back to basics effect is over there in that greed pile. You never know. Uh, I'll hold this Swords to Plowshares on the off chance that my opponent will go for a Days Undoing. They did not, at which point I'll go ahead and try to counter it. Or remove it, but I'm not hopeful. Oh, it's gone. I assume this is just going to eat like a Swords to Plowshares, and my opponent is just going to shrug this off, but I'm so far behind that I really just have to try something here. That's not a real clock on its own. I'm gonna maybe try to deploy a couple of things in one turn, get Terminus, lose all my will. I was playing a paper magic game, I would have said just like show me a handful of spells and I'll concede. we're done with this round. Like my opponent is discarding rather than playing cards. Alright, there is an Uro. Maybe we can deck our opponent. Do I let that resolve? Then just play Drog Skull Captain and kill it? I think I do. And then we'll hold up Force of Will for Terminus or Entreat the Angels or whatever. Alright. This kills Jace. This hits you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think rather than play the Ether Vial, I'm just going to hold up an extra mana. The Vial's not really gaining me a lot in the immediate future. Hello and welcome. This is demoralizing. Oh my god. Irrelevant card. Yeah, we're getting to the point where like I'm just going to concede because this game is not fun. I'd prefer that my opponent just like slam a win condition and then like I can feel justified in conceding. But life's bad right now. Huh? I mean, Trinisphere, probably the 3-color builds are probably safer. Like, I don't know how many turns my opponent went without seeing green mana this game. Like 8? It was a lot. I'm gonna try to high roll a little bit here. I feel like I need to high roll to like maybe catch up. I can get got by like a Source of Plowshares or another Ice Fang Coatl or something, but I think I need to go for this 2-for-1. Maybe my opponent just like can't really kill me. There's 2 Uros in exile. I have beat the Jace. I have beat the Teferi. I have beat the Hall Breacher. Maybe maybe there just aren't very many win conditions left. All right. 1 entreat left in 25 cards that will just absolutely murder me. Also, what's a Terminus? I'm not playing around it. My opponent has used 2 already. I don't know how many they have, but I have got to try to end this. Jeez, these Pyroblasts, though. I need a Force of Will. I just need to be able to answer and treat the Angels. And to a lesser extent, Terminus. Yeah, but if I didn't have the Rest in Peace, I'd already be dead. Instead of this slow suffering state that I'm in now. So is it really good that I have the Rest in Peace? Hard to say. Alright, Hexproof is cool. God! God damn it. God damn it. Alright. Alright. I'm done. I'm done. Fauna has 5 cards and a Jace, and they didn't just brainstorm, so I didn't have the line of, like, Rattle Chains, then draw, like, another Lord to pump and kill the Jace. That's enough. My opponent has mulliganed to 5, probably meaning that they're a combo deck. I've kept a hand that has a Force of Will and something to pitch to it. That probably means good things for me. Gobos. Ah. Il Mucci, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Grok, generally speaking, it'll be about 2 weeks. So I have a queue on my website that sort of like shows the order in which I play it. Grok, do you have a preference for whether it's like done on YouTube, like it goes directly to YouTube, or I stream it and then put it to YouTube? Well, we definitely feel like a modern deck in terms of our power level here. Um, Grab another one of these. So we're probably going to see my Drogskol Captain be cast rather than Force of Will fodder this game, since my opponent has double Cavernous Souls. Unfortunately, I don't have any flyers yet, and the flyers are something that can, attack more or less in with impunity in this matchup. The Snoop combo could be in our opponent's deck, but the legacy versions of the Goblin decks usually aren't playing that. It's a little clunky. And the Snoop isn't as good as it is in, say, Historic, as just being a, like, value card. If I lose one of my creatures this turn. Can't be countered. Thank you, Force of Will. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, Eli is, or at least was, of the opinion that the Snoop didn't really offer you anything that was really worth the payoff by legacy standards. Ugh, 3 dead cards here is pretty bad. I'm not even going to play out this Aether Vial. I'm just going to bluff like I have more stuff. Well, there's a punish for not, I guess, removing a creature on my opponent's turn. Nothing can be countered. Yep. I'm in real danger of just being outclocked by my opponent here. Alright. I'll play it this turn, because that still holds up 3 mana, which is most of my stuff. Buy the beatdown? I can attack my opponent for half of their theoretical life total this turn, but then it's incredibly unlikely that I can finish them off next turn. Maybe it's better for me to hold back Skyclave Apparition and take down Goblin Piledriver. Yeah, fine and Andy. So I think the difference between round 1 and the difference between all of the other rounds has been that if our opponent can interact with our creatures, we start to crumble, because I don't have a late game card advantage engine of any kind. Oh, just fucking Muxus me. End it now. Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's fine. We can stop. Our opponent mulled to 5, and we just got fucking punked. Because we mulled to 5 too, because like Force was just awful. All right. Jite, swords. Needle for Vile is awkward. I guess Grafdigger's Cage for Muxus is fine, right? That works. Yeah. Uh, Counterspells suck. I'm playing Geist. Am I playing a 1/4 butt? I might be playing a 1/4 butt. Spirit Labyrinths also suck. Needle and Disenchant are both eh. I don't think I can Needle Vial a lot of games because I want to be / I need to be dumping creatures onto the board. Disenchant has 4 targets. I think I'm going to submit like this. Yeah, Needle has other targets like Port and Wasteland and Sling Gang Lieutenant. So, like, it's not the worst. But, like, this is my turn 1 play if I have it in hand, right? And it's very bad for me to shut off my own Ether Vial with this deck. I'm almost starting to think we want to play 4 of the Unsettled Mariner, just as, like, another thing that goes and gives me protection for my creatures, just because, like, my creatures getting removed is so bad for me. Don't Tarfire me, bro. Cool. Not to the point where I care about Cage yet. I don't think I want to use Skyclave on Pile Driver. There are better targets. And the Pile Driver is currently not threatening me. Yeah, but like the fact that this Lord is like a 1/3 means it's not a real clock on its own. You know, this is like something like a Grixis control deck poking you with a Baleful Strix turn after turn. Like it's not acceptable on its own. You need something else there. Oh fuck. Here we go. I don't know if this is gonna kill me. It can kill me if my opponent has like a squee, maybe, that like actually lets them go infinite. I don't know quite how this is going to work out. I think they can tutor for squee here. I don't know if they can kill me. Uh, this is interesting. I'm very glad that I have a Skyclave Apparition to help clean this up if I get another turn. Hello and welcome, Rexiel. Back in my day, I built a Rexial the Risen Deep EDH deck. Back in those days, we called it EDH instead of Commander. My opponent has cast a lot of spells, but I'm not dead, which is really cool. This is some shit, but not dead. Well, that was a draw. Yeah, we didn't know we were playing against food chain goblins until the middle of last turn. All right. They ran out of gas last time. I think I leave them with their food chain and just try to kill them. And, like, control their creatures that they do put in play. My opponent burned through a lot of their, like, tutors and such last turn. By not eating food chain, I can take out all 3 of my opponent's dangerous creatures. Excellent, thank you, Grok. I will check it out after the stream. Always know that. I think I'm good with just sending everyone in. My opponent 3-for-1s themselves and makes their food chain noticeably worse. I'm good with that. Pass turn? I think pass turn's okay. Not too worried about a Gaia's Cradle since my opponent has Food Chain. Alright. So now I know about Food Chain. Pithing Needle does not shut that off. I can disenchant it. I can Force of Negation it, Force of Will it. I can ignore it. So how many theoretical answers to Food Chain do I have right now? Basically 9. There's some situational timing there, but basically 9 answers to it. That might be enough. Yeah, it might be crazy talk, but like my counter spells are just so bad versus the rest of the Goblins deck that I don't think I want to dilute my draws with them. One of Grafdigger's Cage has returned as well. Opponent has gone to 5. My opponent starts off on a Goblin Lackey. I have to Swords to Plowshares. Otherwise, I start off on Aether Vial. I don't think I need to remove a Skark Prospector on turn 1. I think it's acceptable for me to just go ahead and get my Aether Vial going. Just hope my opponent is operating on limited resources that allow me to aggro them out in the air. Ancient Tomb as well. Sure. Gonna blow up my vial. Gonna blow up my vial. Skark Prospector is a bridge towards more powerful cards that I care about. I think I'm going to go ahead and junk this thing and play a Grafdigger's Cage. I'm a little constrained on mana. I'm hoping to draw a land so I can double spell next turn. I don't. Alright, they are more turbo than I thought they were. So they have Tomb, Lotus Petal, Food Chain, and Gaia's Cradle. I don't know. I feel like the Spirit deck is a little bit fragile. Like, with the exception of round 1, where I felt like we were an overwhelming favorite. I felt like I've been the underdog in the other 3 rounds. Force of Will is another one. My opponent's having some trouble tutoring, so I can pull up the deck list for a second. Yeah, so at a glance, Like, you have Caracas and Force of Will. Most of the rest of the stuff looks to be modern legal. Alright, they've gotten Pashalik Mons. Alright, no double spell this turn. Which is unfortunate. My opponent's Ancient Tomb that allowed them to blow up my Aether Vial on curve was really good. I mean, to be fair, I boarded the forces out for this match, so, like, you haven't seen them. Okay. I'm gonna keep poking. But I am definitely afraid of my opponent finding a sacrifice outlet and just going to town on my creatures. I want this Drog Skull Captain in play to give most of my creatures hexproof. Or, drawing a plains so that I could just, like, Skyclave this thing away would also be good. Not super optimistic about my odds here. Well, I'm okay with a trade here. Yet, this creature sucks! It only block creatures with flying? Alright, I shouldn't have attacked with this 1-3. That's punishing. Not that punishing, but punishing. Alright, so sacrifice another goblin? No, sacrifice a goblin. Fine. I think I want to play this way, but it's pretty close. So there's a couple of different lines here. Pashalik Mons can be sacrificed to itself. Goblin Crater Maker can be sacrificed to do 2 damage to something. Pages for Muxus. So my opponent's ordering there meant that they didn't get a creature. And I think I'm just bashing. Maybe that's not true. Does this 1 point of damage matter? 4 down to 10. And I hit for 6. This 1 point of damage probably doesn't matter. I'll hold back this butt. Crash for 3. Plays around some of the worst possible Goblin Lackey scenarios. Alright, we got the concession there. I'm very happy to win this match because I think my opponent's deck is favored and we got a little bit lucky, especially since I got stuck on mana this game after my Aether Vial got blown up. I've kept sort of an aggro opening hand here. I'm going to be very bad against a Wasteland. But I think Supreme Phantom into Supreme Phantom with a couple of cards to clean up whatever our opponent is doing is pretty appealing. Alright, if we are playing against Delver and I don't get Wastelanded, I think I'm okay. We're playing against like an Omniscience deck or something like that. I think I Force of Will this. Yeah, that's fine. But like, I didn't want my opponent to have a clock after they Wastelanded me. This gets both of my spirits out of bolt range. Wait, hold on. Is this better? This leaves my spirit in bolt range, but this makes me better against the Wasteland. Let's do that. Maybe my opponent messes up and, like, doesn't know it's a permanent. Yeah, I like that. Oh, Wasteland me. Wasteland me. Oh, another Tarmogoyf. Okay, I didn't get Wastelanded. That's pretty huge. Vial, also a big deal. These Tarmogoyfs are probably attacking for 6 total damage next turn. This Wasteland is scary. Think I need to ignore my Vial and do this? This is a 4/4. I think I hold that back and attack for 2. I'm not 100% sure there. It's possible that just crashing in for the 4 and trying to kill my opponent is reasonable, but IDK. If I play the Vial on my turn and it gets countered growing the Tarmogoyfs, it's also just disastrous. Oh my god, not getting wastelanded is the fucking greatest. I I literally do not believe that we won that game. Uh, wow. Unsettled Mariner saved my ass. Yeah, confirmed need more Unsettled Mariner. Merge is great. Fourth Source to Plowshares is great. Rest in Peace is great. Jete is good. Geist is something I'll consider. I do not want Shackle Geist. And I feel like Spell Quellers are slow. Actually, I don't know that I've like drawn a single Spell Queller all league, now that I think about it. Yeah, I don't think I've drawn this card once. Okay, maybe I've drawn it but haven't played it. Alright, is Geist better than Spell Queller? Geist clocks like hell. Doesn't die to a lightning bolt. But Spell Queller can stop an Uro. Could go down on Rattle Chains as well. Rattle Chains trades with Delver. Let's try boarding like this. I could also go down on Force of Wills. Maybe when I'm on the play, I go down on Force of Will. Okay. This is an awkward hand. I am going to try to Force a Will this so that I can play an Aether Vial on my turn 1. Well, no one really took Goyf seriously for a very, very long time in other formats too, right? Like that was a sleeper pick for a very long time. I don't think I want to give my opponent more time to find things to pair with X-Drinker. I now have a hyper-reactive hand. All right, we wait. I think I'm willing to just play Rattle Chains out as a 2-1 flyer. My opponent doesn't do anything with their turn. The thing about Tarmogoyf is that, like, Tarmogoyf is a pretty average creature, except in the context of Legacy, where you have, like, these fetch lands, and these cheap cantrips, and these free counterspells, which all work together for an effect that, like, makes Tarmogoyf very good and very fast quickly. And when you don't have those things, Tarmogoyf is, like, maybe not the best card to have in your aggro-based opener. I think I just leave my Vial on 2 for now. Like, if my opponent plays something that I need to Skyclave Apparition, I can just bump the Vial up and do it then. I have a bunch of, like, Lords and stuff at 2 that I would be plenty happy to just draw. Make another parallel, like... Preordain was a card that was Legacy legal for a very long time, but didn't actually see very much play until much later. Yeah, that doesn't get it out of bolt range. That just turns it into a 3/3, so sure, that's fine. Sometimes it's context that makes a card good rather than the card itself being objectively powerful. Alright. 3 of the 4 bolts gone. Are you better as a Force of Will fodder than as a 1/1? Probably. I'm gonna hold that. There's some things like, you know, an artifact destruction spell, or maybe like a rough tumble later that, like, I really need to counter. Feel immediately rewarded for my decision. My opponent's last card is like a Pyroblast. I am in huge shit. Ah! Why do I even say these things? Ugh. Now my opponent has a Flying Dreadhorde Arcanist in play. I think this one's over. I need to peel a Swords to Plowshares and answer this. I don't have much time. Like, this thing getting back a Ponder or a Lightning Bolt every turn is burying me, and I have no card advantage. The fact that this is a threat that can't be Skyclaved is ruining me. And if I don't play out creatures, my opponent just has 6 points of reach. Ugh. Alright. I can maybe set up an interesting situation with all of this. Better for me if they return the Ponder rather than the Lightning Bolt this turn. Eh. Uh, I'm gonna hemorrhage some cards here. Alright, now my opponent can attack me for 3, double bolt me, and kill me. I can, like, throw chump blockers in the way or something, but this is not gonna get there. We were so good against non-whale threats there. On the play, how do I want to adjust? On the play, let's bring this in as something that just clocks hard. And call it good. Spell Quellers are fine, but, like, again, it's a 4 or less restriction. Deep. And is very strong. Well, okay, it's very strong if Ether Val resolves. If it doesn't resolve, the hand is clunky and a little slow. It will need a 3rd land. All right. Not dead. It'll be interesting whether or not I want to cast Supreme Phantom on my turn to fish out a Daze. I think I will. Because then I can Violin Mausoleum Wanderer. And then trade for the Daze that way. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I have a Spell Pierce on a stick available to me. That worked out pretty well for me. Oh, do you have Stifle? Oh no, just a second bolt. Opponent does not currently control a forest. Now, my opponent didn't daze last turn. That doesn't mean they don't have counter magic. They had double bolt, so it didn't really make sense for them to daze, even if they could. I think I'm just going to pass the turn here. Rely on my Ether Vial to take over this game. We're going to be Vial bluffing this game. That's brutal. Now I have to cast my stuff into dazes. Nice. Right, Delver did not flip. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to submerge if my opponent plays a fetch land. I think I'm just going to let that resolve and then Skyclave it. So I guess I let that resolve and submerge the token so that my Geist doesn't die. It's not exactly how I saw this turn cycle playing out, but it is what it is. Maybe I should have fetched around Stifle, by the way. Uh, rough. Although my opponent does not have all the required mana for it. I think I'm just going to hold this Force of Will for now. I need to force Uro if my opponent casts it. If I find 2 Lords, I can start attacking into the Delver. It looks like my opponent's Brainstorm isn't just a super straightforward, like, I found the fetch line for Uro, I will cast Uro. Like, it's at least slightly more difficult than that. JK. My issue here is that, like, I force the Uro this turn, and then it comes back the following turn. Like, there's still 5 cards in there. Well, this is what I'm doing. I think I'll trade this for the Delver and a bunch of life. I think this damage is just too relevant. Because, like, if Uro comes into play, I have a handful of white removal spells that can answer it, and then a Karakas. Alright, I'm dead. It'll take 3 turns for me to literally die. But I'm not going to come back from this. We're going to get hit for 6, 12, 18. Our opponent's gaining life and drawing cards, making the aggro finish less likely. Even if I do find a Caracas, my opponent just recycling Uro every turn probably just beats me anyway. Yeah, I feel comfortable conceding here. GG's, opponent. Alright, overall, I'm not positive on this deck list. I still feel like the creature quality is not high enough to be a Legacy Tribal deck. If I were going to play this again, I 100% want 4 Unsettled Mariners. I just feel like that's necessary because it's so bad when your creatures die. The other thing I want to do is cut a couple of these creatures for just something else. Shacklegeist, for example, is a pretty crappy creature. I want to cut this card for maybe, I don't know, the 4th Spirit of the Labyrinth and the 4th Source to Plowshares, or something of that nature. I don't know how to solve the problems that this deck has, though. Because the spirits currently don't have access to, like, something that gives them an end game card advantage engine. And without that, I feel like once you're disrupted, you're in trouble. And you really need to go off tribe in order to get a card advantage engine of some kind. So, like, Stoneforge Mystic is something that's viable. A lot of the blue card draw spells don't work super well in here. I could see trying to fit in, like, Brainstorms into this deck list as well, but you have Spirit of the Labyrinth, so, like, that sort of thing isn't going to be ideal. I just feel like this one is not quite there yet. We're waiting on cards more so than, like, the deck just isn't quite put together yet. As far as the sideboard goes, sideboard was okay. I didn't feel like my sideboard was amazing. I didn't feel like my sideboard was bad. I don't know that I really love Mystic Dispute, though. I would maybe be considering something else over that. This deck doesn't have cantrips, so the one-ofs that are in your sideboard are harder to find than in a traditional blue deck, so I might want more redundancy in other places over Mystic Dispute. I don't know, like, the further you stretch your mana, the more problems you create for yourself. And if you're going to stretch the mana really thin, you really do need stuff that makes it worth supporting. And I feel like Humans has the stuff that makes it worth supporting. Like, that's a good enough tribe that you can do that. Slivers is a good enough tribe that you can do that. But if you compare it to something like Merfolk sticking your fingers into another color is like, oh yeah, I don't know if that green stuff is really worth it. And yeah, I don't know here. Anyway, YouTube folks, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider liking, subscribing, all that sort of stuff, turning on notifications. That sort of stuff really helps out my content. Have a great rest of the day.